Research Left Behind with Professor Ashley.
Hello and welcome to the Research Left Behind, the only Twitch stream, YouTube show, or podcast, depending on your mode of access, that brings you the research that got left behind. My name is Professor Ashley, and yes, I'm a real professor who teaches people how to make video games. Tonight is a special episode of the show with a very special guest, our very own Twitch mod, Nifty Kris. Hello. You all know Kris, right? So Kris helped the season run without any kind of hiccups, and we're very, very grateful to him. And I thought it'd be a great idea to have him on the show to do kind of a retrospective and talk about what we learned from the past season of the program. So this is also kind of helpful if you are new to the program and you haven't watched the stream before, or you haven't listened to the podcast or watched the YouTube show before. This is a nice starting point and a good way to wrap up the first season, because you can go back and you can think about which episodes sounded interesting to you, and you have a really nice launch point to listen to the past season. So faculty, staff, and students, please join me in saying thank you to Nifty Kris for all of his hard work this season, keeping our guests and chat safe and organized. Oh, wait.
Pat myself on the...
Yeah, it's really hard.
I guess this is a podcast, so I should let people know what I'm doing. I'm like, hi, I am I don't know, showboating, I think is the best way to describe it. But hello, everybody.
Yeah. Our live studio audience was just a little bit behind on the applause because the professor forgot her soundboard. So before we get started talking about a book, we're not talking about a book. Before we start getting started talking about the series, we have our conflict of interest disclosures, which is even funnier to do it tonight because we have no HR department. We don't even have Nifty Kris the mod. We have Kris the show guest. So I didn't realize until literally right now that we have no mod tonight. That's fun. So
joke's on you. I actually have on my main monitor, I have the stream up so I can moderate while I'm watching all of you in chat. I will be a guest, but I will also slam down the ban hammer if need be.
Always watching.
4 eyes for each of you.
Yep, exactly. So you can never rest, chat. There go your plans. And then tonight's going to be a much more casual stream as well. So because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about why I do and don't interact with chat. So chat, we're watching you tonight. Kris, do you remember how we met? Let's do our lore drop.
Oh God, I don't actually. Well, I think I kind of vaguely do. I was a guest on my good friend Dan Servo's stream where we were cracking open a booster box of Modern Horizons, which is a Magic the Gathering set from at this point, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And Professor Ashley is a regular in Dan's chat and popped in and was like, who is this tall drink of water? And I was like, who is this person complimenting me? And so I ended up meeting you through Dan's chat, and then we realized that we have a very similar-ish demeanor and humor and commonalities of I don't know, stuff. And then you've rated my stream back when I was streaming more frequently, back when I was teaching people Norwegian on stream, and so I guess I fit into the academia thing, and so you'd raid me, and it's history since then.
And the Unrequired Library is here tonight, and that's very fitting because she's the part of the problem. She's the reason why I found Dan's stream, and then does Dan have his past streams up on YouTube or something? Because that stream was one of the funniest. It was like every gachapon / lottery ticket scratcher / unboxing video you've ever wanted to see, but where the person opening it is just really sad and keeps. I remember specifically Dan was like, "Come on, Kris, give me something. This card's got to be worth something. Look how cool it looks," and you'd be like, "Yeah, 34 cents." And you're like, come on.
Well, so Dan and I met. I mean, this is like lore drop for me and Dan, but Dan and I met through working with Magic the Gathering, and like he went off and continued more of like tabletop role playing stuff, but I have like stayed very much as like a subject matter expert for Magic the Gathering. Like I've been playing Magic my entire life. I've been working in the industry for like 15 years now, and so he brought me in to be like, let me know what good cards I'm pulling out of this. And the funny thing about it is he would pull cards that are like, had you opened this box a decade ago, this card would have been $100. It's now $8. Sorry, bro.
What is the Blackout Club? I don't know what that means.
I believe the Blackout Club was the Blackout Club was one of those like flavor of the month style games you play with your friends, sort of like Phasmophobia or Repo or any of those like kind of like go into a thing and do a thing style games that you play with your, it works really, really well during the pandemic.
Oh, so that was a while ago though, huh? A 4-player horror game that a live storyline role played by Critical Role. What? How did I not know this?
Sweet.
I'm gonna try and give Dan a shout out. Nope. Cool, it didn't work.
Underscore Servo.
God.
Actually, am I a mod? Does my mod allow me to do this? Hey, it actually worked.
Well, but probably to the wrong person, right?
Yeah. Dan,
I mean, go follow them too. Who knows? There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Doing double duty mod right here. Let's go.
Really triple duty because you're also my... Anyway, where are you drinking tonight?
I am a hydro homie. I am drinking water out of a Renaissance Fair mug from the Washington Midsummer Renaissance Fair that I picked up. I don't know. I got this mug probably like 15, 20 years ago.
Dang. I am also drinking water, but I'm drinking water out of my emotional support water bottle that has new stickers, thanks to my birthday. Kindness is meta. I believe I showed you the sticker, Kris, and then remembered how much I like saying get wrecked. So I think it had the opposite effect. Like the whole purpose of the sticker is to remind you to be nice to people. And I was like, oh yeah, that's really funny to say. Bot, cringe, feeder.
It reminded you to be toxic on League of Legends.
Yeah, which I play all the time, infamously.
Oh yeah. By the way, if we want to do that Gachapon thing, I do have some booster packs over there. We can crack one at the end of the stream.
I'm really looking forward to my new job, and part of the reason why we're taking a hiatus in between season 1 and season 2 is so that I can move to New York City to become faculty at NYU. But I've heard tell that there is a faculty magic club, and I am really tempted to get back into it. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. I think it's gonna be a real problem. But
I can provide you with all your cardboard.
Oh no! Don't enable me. So let's talk about the reason why I'm really keen to have your perspective is not only have you been forced to see every single live stream, but you've also You've listened to the YouTubes and the that's wild. Well done. I'm sure the DSM could diagnose you with something off of that, but well done. So tell me about your experience with research.
So my experience, this is an interesting question because my experience with research is I don't know where to put I'm a filthy casual when it comes to research, I guess. I think about that. Like,
is that on the list of insults in my water bottle?
Yeah. It's filthy casual.
No, but try hard is and skill issue is.
I think mine is a skill issue. I think I have never published a book. I think the closest that I've ever done to publishing a book is like the fanfic stuff or whatever that I wrote when I was in like 5th grade that like I was in Banjo-Kazooie or something like that. I don't know. Something that that is a lore drop. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of we're
gonna come back to that.
Sure enough. Well, there's also one about Magic the Gathering. We'll keep that one in mind. But yeah, so when it comes to research, my experience with research for the most part is purely like on a casual level of like am neurospicy, and whenever I find something that I'm interested in, it'll be one of those things where I'm at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm on the Wikipedia page of it, like reading the like going so much further into this topic that I really shouldn't, where it's like, oh, what is like the political spectrum of Norwegian politics or whatever? It's like, why am I learning this? I live in America, it doesn't matter to me, kind of thing. And like just weird stuff like that. But I actually, the more that I think about it, I do a lot of research when it comes to my work, because by trade, I am a merchandiser for Magic the Gathering. Like I, make sure that the product that is hot and popular and cool or whatever is in the right spots and people can shop for it, and therefore, capitalism can continue to flourish. And so the research that I do is researching market trends and customer buying behavior and, that kind of stuff. And like looking at graphs of how sales trends been going for very specific, unique pieces of cardboard over the past 30 days, 180 days, 365 days, whatever it happens to be. What are the best formats that people are playing? Where do customers, like what kind of customers purchase Magic the Gathering? Are they veteran? Are they whales? Are they filthy casuals? Whatever it happens to be. And like that's, I don't know. That kind of stuff interests me. Is like running a MySQL query and looking at like the data of, how well has this card been selling over the past year, and where did it shift in terms of popularity when this thing came out and that thing, rotated out of a format.
And you do this for aftermarket, right?
Yeah. So I guess I should preface this with that I am not speaking on the behalf of my employer. These are all my own personal opinions. But yeah, so if you get into Magic the Gathering and you are like, man, there's this really, really cool Magic the Gathering card that's got a dragon on it, I can open up this booster pack and hope that I get a dragon out of it. Like it's this is where you're talking about gachapon style, like scratch your tickets kind of thing. You can open up a booster pack that's costs $3, $5, whatever it happens to be, and hope you get your dragon. Or there are companies that sell the singles online that will open up a ridiculous amount of these things, or they have sort of like GameStop does, where you can like take a game in and you can sell your game they can be like the middleman of you selling your game, and then they turn around and sell it for a profit. The company that I work for also does that, where if you have this expensive piece of cardboard, you can sell it to us and then we'll turn around and resell it. So you can, instead of paying $5 for that booster pack and hoping to get your dragon, you can just buy that dragon from us for $20. So we're kind of like the weird middleman that makes it so you don't have to worry about drop rates and stuff like that. You can just get what you want. Instant gratification.
Which is amazing, because I think a lot of people don't even know that exists for, tabletop companies. I think enough MMO players know that it exists in MMOs with gold farming and gold selling and that sort of thing. I mean, not that this is equivalent, but it's a similar idea where you have a third-party aftermarket vendor that's providing a service, which is really cool. I'm deeply fascinated by this, because as a social behavioral scientist, I'm always interested in, this is a conversation I think we've had on many streams that have nothing to do with the games that we played, but that capital and like the idea of money having value is all socially engineered, right? That we think this piece of paper has a value is no more strange than thinking a piece of cardboard has value, right? So, or
Beanie Babies or whatever it happens to be. Like it's very easy to say that like it makes sense that a Mickey Mantle baseball card is worth as much as it is, or, Action Comics with Superman's first appearance is worth so much. But then it's like you kind of scoff at like cardboard that has a picture of a necklace on it. And it's like, well, not really. Like it's all just, made up nonsense. The points are all made up, and same goes with the US dollar.
Yeah, exactly. Too right. So speaking of money and transactions, chat may not know that I offered to pay you for the season a very minimal amount. Actually, sadly, less than I pay Adobe per month. My Adobe subscription costs, I think, $35 a month to get Premiere Pro, and you only cost me $25 a month for the stream. But for that $25 a month, you donate yours to, well, you have me donate to different charities. So I wondered if you could talk about that and talk about all the different charities that we've supported on the stream for this past season.
Yeah. So that was the thing that when you initially came to me and said, "Hey, Kris, do you want to mod my channel during this podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it was like a very like I had an ear growing out of the center of my forehead because you looked at me like something was wrong. I don't think you looked at me physically. I think you looked at me like via your text that you were sending at me because we were just chatting and via Discord. But you were like, "What do you mean you'll moderate my chat for free? Like that's the worst thing about Twitch is the chat." Sorry, chat. You all are wonderful, but you know, moderating is supposed to be.
It like only takes one, right? It only takes one, someone posting something. And I was particularly anxious about, and we'll talk more about this later on, but I was particularly anxious when I'm having people discuss contentious topics, right? Gamergate topics, to be frank. And I really didn't want us to have to deal with some Gamergater or some white supremacist or some misogynist posting on Twitter and then us getting a mob of hateful idiots. Sorry, I'm being very blunt. Hey, look, it's my season finale. I can be blunt if I want to. So I thought, you know, really this job could be very easy because everyone that watches the show, they're great. Everyone who's engaging in chat right now, who's engaging live is wonderful. But there's always that risk, you know, that 1% chance that things are going to go sideways. And then it becomes an incredibly stressful, miserable job that I really don't want to ask someone to do for free.
It's a matter of like it only takes, like you said, it only takes like one person reading a stream title under just chatting that says the word feminism before like the floodgates open and somebody posts it on some subreddit or something like that, or like their Discord to be like, this person's woke pronouns kind of thing or whatever, and then you have to like,
that's what they say.
Then that's what I'm there for, which is like pressing the little like sword button and like shutting down chat for a bit, or like setting it down to follower only or sub only or whatever it happens to be. So, but I guess getting back to the question that you had, you said I guess full transparency, you were like, hey, I'll pay you $25 a stream to moderate my chat, and I was like, I have a full-time job. I don't really need you to pay me. I'll do it out of just we're friends, like that's what friends do kind of thing. I'll help you about or whatever, and at some point in time maybe I'll ask a favor kind of thing.
Oh, you didn't have that part. That's new information to me.
Well, but I think it might have been originally your idea to have it be a donation. I don't remember whose idea it was originally to let's just donate it instead. Because I was like, yeah, I don't need money. You don't have to pay me, whatever it happens to be. So we ended up going with the idea that we would donate it to charity, and then it shifted to the idea that each time that you stream, I donate to a different charity, and it was just because I didn't want to just keep shelling out money to charities that I think are awesome. I think it gives me an opportunity to do a little bit of research and look at other do a little bit of research, but do a little bit of research into other charities that I think deserve money.
Sure.
But to answer the question of which charities I supported, full transparency, I guess, to everybody. I donated to Trans Lifeline. Trans Lifeline was one of them. Trans Equality was another one of them. Those two were donated just because I have a lot of fantastic trans friends, and I think that trans rights are human rights, and I think that the world is a shitty place, and there are marginalized people that need to. You're gonna see a lot of comparison, a lot of similarities between these things. That is there are a lot of things are not so great for marginalized people right now, whether it doesn't matter which marginalized group that is, and helping out whenever you can. If it's $25, sure.
Chat said you don't say.
Right, yeah. And the thing is, my best friend has saved me, literally, metaphorically, or whatever you want. Like there's a strong chance that if it wasn't for one of my best friends, that like I probably wouldn't be here chatting on this chat right now. And to think that like that person doesn't deserve human rights is I believe I get one F-bomb and I'm going to use it properly. I don't know if I use it now.
Go.
It's messed up. It's messed up. I will save it for later. It's messed up.
Okay.
And then kind of to fall back into that, Doctors Without Borders is another one that I donated to. You know, there are really wild things that are happening all around the world, and Doctors Without Borders provides medical treatment to places that don't receive it, and they do a great job all around the world. I believe I donated to them twice actually, and one of them I have notes down there. One of them was the second time that I donated to Doctors Without Borders was actually when Summer Games Done Quick was happening this year, and that's where I learned about where I learned about Doctors Without Borders was through GDQ, and so I was like, actually, this week I'm going to double up on this, and we're going to do Doctors Without Borders again. And if you want to, you can throw that donation into one of the incentives to like, name a character file or get into a raffle or whatever.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so I did that. There's some video game one or some like gaming related ones that I did, which were Child's Play. Child's Play is a local charity that's done by the Penny Arcade people that they like provide electronics and gaming and stuff like that to people that are like kids that are in hospitals, to make, the not awesome experience that they are currently getting through a little bit better because they get to play, Donkey Kong on the Switch, which is rad. I donated to Gamers Engage. This is one that, again, I'm speaking for myself and not for the business that employs me, but Gamers Engage is close to me because it is the donation charity, the charitable branch, I guess. Although it's not really a branch, it's their own charity now. But they're a charity that I've worked with through my work that does really awesome stuff. Like there's this event that happens every year called the Gauntlet, where they do the closest that I can describe is a board game triathlon where teams play 3 different games over the course of this event. And the fundraising that you do before the event gives you freebies and cheating and re-roll your dice and whatever throughout the event. And the groups that play in them are local groups to the Seattle area. So like Bungie has been there, Paizo's been there, Wizards of the Coast has been there. Like, so there's a bunch of these like different gaming companies that kind of like get their own cool thing together. And spoiler alert, Bungie wins the donation side of things every year, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they win the event because you still have to be good at playing board games. But they always have like the most amount raised because they do some cool stuff with like Destiny too. If you donate to the charity, which is pretty rad. And that charity helps marginalized groups that are in the Seattle area. So El Centro de la Raza, I believe, is one of them. Now I'm like on the spotlight and I'm trying to remember all of the charities that we worked with in the past. But there's like a bunch of like helping people, who are helping people that need help, I guess, is like the best way to put it. And then the last charity that I donated to was the UN RWA, which is specifically helping people in Gaza, because there's some stuff happening over there that I disagree with, and people. Again, it's one of those things where people who are down on their luck shouldn't be kicked while they're down on their luck, or in this case, how do I say this nicely? Killed. That's really I can't really say it nicely. They're being murdered. It sucks.
Sorry, that's not a funny statement, but how you put it is just so West Coast. It cracks me up. No, it should not be a controversial statement to say that genocide is wrong and that war is wrong, and that I think viewers should not be shocked that I think anyone watching this channel or who's affiliated with this channel is very much anti-genocide, anti-war, anti-starvation. So what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine are both things that are very concerning to me. And saying those statements does not mean that you support terrorism or whatever other nonsense that people are trying to make this a polarizing issue, when at the end of the day, genocide's wrong, war is wrong, killing people, starving people's wrong. Oh man, I cry pretty much every time I think about it.
This might get me canceled on Twitter, but this is a shocking, controversial take. Genocide is bad and killing children is awful. Like, crazy, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but like, murdering children is an awful thing.
I mean, it feels like the bare minimum, but here we are. So, a lot of charities were supported this past. I keep wanting to say semester because my brain is broken. Because I'm
call your seasons semesters. That's an awesome idea.
I know. I thought about doing it, and I thought, well, we have to wait until it gets off the ground a little bit more, because people are gonna be like, what the hell does this mean? Is she like using this for class, or I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the 3 guests we had on this year, this season, this semester, who talked about platform studies. So I was looking through. Sorry.
I said, I think there were more than 3. But
yeah. There were more than 3, but there were 3 that talked specifically about platform studies. So one of the things I did when I went through this past season, I was trying to think, like, what commonalities do we have, or how could I present this information in a way where people who are not, who are first timers, first listeners, are like, oh, well, I'm kind of interested in this thing. How would I find an episode about this thing, right? So we had 3 guests come on and talk specifically about video game platforms. So what I mean by that is, like, Jim Malazita came on and talked about the Unreal Engine. Jose Segal, our first ever guest, came on and talked about the Virtual Boy, the Nintendo Virtual Boy, which is really interesting. To date, I can't tell if it's because it's the first episode or if because the Virtual Boy has a huge fan base, but to date, that's the most popular episode. And then lastly, Mia Consalvo came on and talked about Twitch, which was very meta, right, to talk about Twitch as a platform. But platform studies are really interesting because we get media studies, right? Like, that is a thing to talk about how books are different than film, which is different than television. But thinking about how the platform and the technology we use to make games and how that impacts games and how that impacts how people play them and talk about them and think about them, to me is really unique and interesting to game studies specifically. And even thinking about how we watch games, right? Twitch has had a huge impact on the design of games, because for a while there, I remember hearing a lot of feedback from industry partners of, well, is it Twitchable, right? Like, is this something that we can send to influencers who are going to put it on Twitch, which is kind of wild. So, Kris, thinking about the Virtual Boy and Jose Segal's research, thinking about Unreal Engine and Dr. Malazita's research, and thinking about Twitch and Dr. Consalvo's research, which one stood out to you, or was there anything in there that surprised you about platforms?
Yeah, there were a couple of things. So I will preface it that I kind of feel bad that, like, Mia Consalvo's episode, there wasn't really a whole lot that was new to me. I've been streaming on Twitch for over a decade now, and so a lot of the stuff that she was mentioning, I was just like, yeah, familiar with all of that stuff or whatever. It was a lot of like, oh, absolutely. I'm glad that there is there's published work about this that is for the people where it isn't inside baseball knowledge, where it's just like, oh yeah, there are people who are just like I was like, at one point in time when I was like getting introduced to my therapist, I don't know how long ago, I like mentioned that I streamed, and it was like the most, I have no idea what you're talking about kind of thing.
Really?
So I had to, like, explain what the concept of streaming on Twitch was, and because that's the thing is, like, you and I understand it, and for the most part, people who game understand it. But if you don't play video games, and if you're not chronically on the internet, it's completely, it's such a foreign concept to you, right?
Well, now I'm wondering about my therapist, because when I told her about streaming, she was like, and acted as though she knew, but I'm guessing she didn't.
That's nice, dear, and puts it on the fridge. Yeah, no. But yeah, so Mia Consalvo's was nice because it was one of those things where, like, that one, I think the only thing that really stood out to me was that, like, I then understood that my friend has like a moral compass that is questionable, because apparently she watches what was it, the Olympics, to watch it for the injuries, I think was
What a weird friend. Maybe you should stop being friends with her.
Although no, I think I will say that I believe at some point in time you said no, I do not actually watch. I don't watch.
Okay, let me tell you my favorite Olympic story,
Olympic
since this is a casual, relaxed stream where,
Sure.
very little research is going to be discussed. So I became obsessed. I unfortunately got food poisoning on my honeymoon. It was the worst possible scenario. Like the night before, we were supposed to fly out as well, like total nightmare scenario. So the only thing we could do for like 12 hours was watch the Summer Olympics, just like feeling miserable. And the only shining light in what otherwise was a literal nightmare was watching the first ever skateboarding in the Summer Olympics. So it was the year when they first introduced skateboarding. And none of the announcers, like you're talking about therapists not knowing how to talk about streaming, that was so rewarding to watch announcers who are like polished sports announcers from NBC, ESPN, have zero clue how to talk about skateboarding, and then try and interview skateboarders who all look stoned or drunk or whatever, right? So they're not, they're used to dealing with athletes, right? They're used to dealing with athletes like at the peak of their physical fitness. And there's some guy who's like, yeah, I didn't really want to wear a helmet because they make my head too hot. You have this guy from NBC like, what do you say to that? And like, why is no one enforcing the helmet rule, right? Like, it was just the most wild thing. And then they had the Tony Hawk come on, because of course they did. And they're like, Tony, can you tell us what we're watching? It's like this guy's doing a half pipe or whatever. And Tony Hawk was there like with the suit and tie looking super uncomfortable. And he was like, that was a 420 pop shove it butt grinder or whatever, because all the moves in skateboarding have stupid names, right? So he's saying this to the announcers who are just like, oh, and is that difficult to do? Because again, they have no concept. Yeah, sorry. So that's why I watch the Olympics. But back on the topic. So Twitch wasn't surprising to you, but maybe Unreal 4 was?
I mean, both Unreal and the Virtual Boy were they had some surprising moments with them. The Virtual Boy was one of those things where like I'm familiar-ish with the Virtual Boy because it's like a niche, weird video game thing, and I think on my shelf behind me somewhere, I have like my also my other handheld made by Nintendo that's like hyper unique or whatever, which is like the Game Boy Micro. These things are not. I love this thing, but
I've never seen
other
one.
people might
I don't
not.
think.
Oh, they're great. It's actually pocket size, which is awesome. It's backlit and all that good stuff. Doesn't play Game Boy games, but the Virtual Boy one it makes sense now, but I had always gone with this understanding that the Virtual Boy was a failure because of the fact that like it gave people headaches and dizziness and blah 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 blah, and like it had the Virtual Boy effect, and Jose Zagal mentioned that like most, if not all, of the problems that people were having were because they didn't set them up properly or like configure them to they were just like pick it up, put it on, and start playing, and then they realized that like they didn't calibrate it to their eyeballs, and it was giving them headaches. And it's like it was user error, and it's like, oh, actually, now that I think about it, knowing somebody who like does a bunch of research on customer behavior, that adds up. Actually, it wasn't as bad as people give it. I guess it wasn't as bad as people don't give it credit for. I guess it was potentially a better system than people give it credit for. I guess is what I'm going with.
For sure.
Because people were just like, yeah, dude, let's go, and then putting it on and be like, oh, I have a headache, and you're like, did you flip the slider? And it's like, what slider? And it's like, did you read the booklet? No, I threw that away as soon as I opened it. It's like,
you're describing me.
Sick. Sick.
That's literally what I do every single time.
And then you like fish it out of the recycling to like
check.
You're like the kind of person who's like, oh really? You just, oh man.
I'm like, that's vaya con Dios. Like, we're with God now.
It doesn't work. Yeah. And then with the Unreal Engine, I have a friend of mine who did some of the graphics, some of the art for like crates and med kits and ammo packs or whatever that you would pick up in America's Army. But I didn't know.
That's amazing.
I was scraping the surface on America's Army and like how wild that was. And like talking about the things with research earlier where like I'd, fall down this rabbit hole. Because of that stream, I ended up falling down the rabbit hole of like the process and like the development process of America's Army and what went into that and how questionable it is in terms of like, what's the Simpsons episode where they're like saying join the Navy but backwards or whatever. Like it's like that where you're just like, I'm playing a fun little video game. Oh, weird. I have this strange urge to go down to my local military recruiter. Like that kind of like subliminary message. Like it's like it was a very interesting topic that
Superliminal messaging.
Did not know that was a thing that was just, a part of Unreal's history. It was a very, very interesting concept to me.
We talked about a lot, actually, about how gaming impacts culture, particularly American culture. And I'm thinking of the episode with Dr. Adrian Massanari when we kind of all, I don't know how depressed you felt. Reading that book, I read it as soon as it came out, I got it. And part of the reason why I wanted to do this stream is to have an excuse to talk to these really amazing authors who wrote really amazing books, who were very influential on how I see the world and also in my own writing and research. But I read it when it first came out and I was just getting very, very angry. And then I read it again before the stream so it'd be fresh in my mind and I got really, really sad. So I wondered, what was your take on it? So as someone who works adjacent to the games industry, and obviously we both play a lot of games, how important is it to discuss that cultural impact and how something as silly as games or America's Army might impact the fascist state we live in? Sorry, that was too strong. The current political situation.
Yeah. I think I am of the opinion that acknowledging gaming and like the impact of gaming, regardless of whether it's positive or negative, is always an important thing. Like to ignore the elephant in the room is one of those things where like you're doing yourself a disservice by ignoring the fact that, like, like we were talking about earlier, like you have game studios that are creating these games and designing around the like, is it twitchable? And it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense because video gaming or gaming just in general is massive. It is a huge thing. It is something that like for all of the like the positives that are coming out of it of like, oh man, we can now like allocate our marketing budget that we normally would do for advertisements of whatever is going to be more like, grassroots marketing because some popular person who has a big following can stream Among Us on the internet and then, flash forward to, 6 to 9 months later. Now all of a sudden there's like, United States, politicians that are streaming Among Us with these people. And like the reality of it is that like it's back when I was growing up, it was like video games are a joke, nonsense, whatever that like only little kids play. And then there was like the shift when the PlayStation 2 came around of like video games becoming more of an art. And then now video games are really a thing. Like people will make their full-time careers off of just playing video games. And I think that episode kind of leans in on the negative side of things, which is that like you can't say that the cultural impact of video games or video game culture isn't important because all that's doing is like, no, it's not. Just stop listening to those things. It has a very similar vibe to saying that like, oh, millennials are just kids complaining about, blah, 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 that they can't like skateboard and chew their bubble gum. It's like, no, millennials are like in their 30s and 40s and have mortgages and are grown adults. And so it's a similar vibe where like, oh,
and we're not okay.
Right. Well, like, and just ignore the cultural impact of video games is ignoring massive things that are actually a problem. That like if there is a legitimate concern that's coming up through these video game cultures and are like being like gasoline is being stoked on these fires, you should acknowledge that it's actually relevant rather than just like brushing it off as like, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not that big of a not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely a couple of episodes where I was like, as I was moderating, I was like, just like glasses off, just like gripping the bridge of my nose, just being like, oh, why I hate it here so much. Like here being Earth, I think. I don't know. I don't even know if I can leave this country to get away from this.
Yeah,
You know,
no, everything's
nonsense.
really bad. And I think one of the kind of pluses and minuses of games, as you point out, the difficulty here is that games are inherently playful, right? And so that playfulness gives people this excuse to brush it off as millennial avocado toast nonsense to to talk about what chat's currently talking about avocado toast, is to brush it off as this meaningless, frivolous thing. And as you point out, it's definitely not, and it has really serious impacts, and it can kind of grow out of control where you can only brush it off for so long. And so I wanted to segue into Dr. Kishana Gray and Dr. Catherine Coles, because both of them talked about race. Well, one race in Twitch streaming, and the other was talking about race in Bridgerton, which is just my other niche interest. So if you're interested in Bridgerton, we do have an episode about that. But the bulk of the season was about games, for sure. So the stream with Dr. Gray talked about how Black content creators often have their work and ideas stolen by white creators. And then Dr. Coles talked about the limitations on, I suppose really how white supremacy is replicated through silly and frivolous media like games, like romance novels, like romance shows. So I wanted to ask you what takeaway point you walked away from their episode thinking about. Do you watch Bridgerton?
No, I do not. No,
That's so weird because I thought you were their target demographic.
I live in the world where my only streaming platform is dropout.tv.
Sure.
10 out of 10. So
well, you are on
it's
Twitch
not
right
on
now,
Dropout.
so.
Sorry, my only subscription streaming service, I guess. Twitch, I don't subscribe to anything on Twitch, which I donate otherwise to the people that I feel need to. But yeah, yes, there were with those two episodes, there was one major theme that I took away with, which I'll get to second. The first takeaway that I got was the realization of what Kishana Gray mentioned was just how much of Black culture goes out and then gets filtered through into the. I mean, it's something that has happened across the board throughout history of rock and roll starting off and turning into what it is now, and kind of being whatever the cultural equivalent of gentrification is, that kind of thing. It was one of those things where I realized it, but I didn't fully realize it, I guess. And it's one of those, it's the there's the internet meme of saying teenager slang, and then it just turns into your normal slang. You use it ironic. At first you think it's stupid, and then you use it ironically, and then all of a sudden you're saying that's super lit, flag, sheesh, on God, for real, actually, and it's just in your head. But the reality of it is that so much of that so much of the stuff that is just in my normal verbiage from being on Twitch,
came from Black content creators,
Black culture, and it's a very interesting had not considered that, and now that I'm thinking back onto it, it's when you say that something is swag, that's pulling from
Yep.
you know, Black culture and like lit and like a lot of like the terminology and like just, you know, slang that you're using is just like, huh, interesting. And like I yeah, it made me think of a
Co-opting, yeah.
lot of stuff and like what like where it came from and yeah and like and you know the term woke and yeah like it's just
Can I make a
it was
confession that has nothing
yeah.
necessarily to do with race? Although I suppose perhaps I have started adopting things Hassan Piker says in stream into daily conversations, including "we're so back chat" or "chatter, what are you talking about?" But I say this out of context, like not on Twitch, just at the grocery store. If yeah, so that's a problem for a different reason.
Yeah. But and the bigger thematic meta thing that I pulled away from this is and I joked around with you a little bit about this the other day, is that I don't think that I have what it takes to be in academia because both of them and a few other people that had done research for books that they had published do research on stuff that like I actively try to avoid,
Yeah.
like the you know when it came to Shawn Gray and like doing
Yeah.
research into like FPS culture and 2K culture
Yeah.
and like the she mentioned Xbox Record that and like I was
Oh
like I've
yeah.
never heard of that at all and I looked it up and the first thing was like Aaron Paul compilation of saying this and I was like you could not pay me any amount of money to watch Aaron Paul's content or Jake Paul's content or any of that like Twitch sphere that has shifted into whatever that other streaming platform is that like allows you to be racist. Like I can't do
What?
any of
There's a
what's
racist
there's like
stream?
isn't there like there's like a streaming platform that's just like you can like all hands are off, you can do whatever, there's like no rules
Gross.
kind of thing or whatever that like a bunch of content creators went on to because they're like I can just kick. But like
Oh, is that what
it,
Kick is? Because I got Streamlabs was like, hey, do you want to stream on Kick? I was like, what the hell is that? That literally popped up before the stream.
I'm assuming that there are a lot of people who stream on Kick who have good intentions, but there are a lot of people who stream on Kick who have very bad intentions.
Huh.
But it's like I could never get in. Like I can't watch those kind of content creators. And when some of the content creators that I watch start leaning into that like really edgy humor, kind of popular in the 2000s kind of vibes, I'm just like, unsubscribe done. I'm moving on, kind of thing. And I just like,
Yeah.
I don't let it occupy more of my brain than I need to. And same with like when it comes to when it came to Catherine Cole, like she was doing a lot of research into like trad wife stuff, and I was just like,
Yeah.
this is all unfamiliar to me because I have zero interest in researching anything about trad wife culture. I'm good. Like you're on your own. You research that. I don't think I like. This was something that I went to a punk show on Tuesday where the Suicide Machines was one of the bands that was performing, and Jay Navarro has a bunch of patches that are all over him that are like, you know, workers' rights union, this end war, blah blah blah, like very very thoughtful stuff. And I guess content warning, Jay Navarro did not have a great past couple of years, and this year almost took his own life. And I think there's a direct correlation to depression and knowing more about what's going on in the world. The more that you know about the atrocities that are happening in the world,
Yeah.
the more depressed you get.
Yeah.
And like 2K FPS culture and trad wife culture, I don't need it added on to the fact that I have
Right?
to
I
worry
already
about,
feel bad.
you know,
Yeah.
I already feel awful. I don't need to ingest awful media.
Well, and I think that to answer chat's talking about why left-leaning people stan Hassan, and I think that part of the reason why, like certainly the reason I watch Hassan Piker is because I can't watch the news unfiltered, right? It's too much. It's too overwhelming. I need someone to hold my hand to be like, hey, look, bad stuff is happening, but you're not the abnormal one, right? Like you're feeling angry right now. I'm angry too. This is unacceptable. And that's, I think, what Hassan offers. I mean, yeah, I'm subbed.
Sure. Yeah.
To
Well,
Hassan.
I think Hassan, like, and Hassan has mentioned this before, that like he is not trying to be the Joe Rogan of the left, because IMHO, and probably in his opinion, I think the world needs less just Joe Rogans in general that are like, you know, like if there was like a left equivalent of Joe Rogan that was also like peddling conspiracy theories on the left, saying that like, you know, the hypothetical, I don't know if this is actually a conspiracy. If it is, I wouldn't be surprised, but saying that like, you know, don't drive cars because driving cars causes cancer or something like that, or like, I'd be like, no, that's ridiculous, and like, please don't.
Hey, wait a minute.
Does this count? This person.
Does this count as the third time in season 1? So see, this is the 8th episode, and 3 episodes conspiracy theories were mentioned.
Oh, God.
Driving cars gives you cancer. You heard it here first.
I'm platforming. God, no. But like, if somebody were to be platforming left-leaning stuff that was also incorrect, I wouldn't want them to do that also. Like, back it up with, show the receipts, please. Like, there doesn't need to be, like, I don't think that Joe Rogan is necessarily, like, I think Joe Rogan should do what Joe Rogan does, which is, like, really bad comedy and scream about UFC fights. I don't think that he should be, like, you know, platforming people who have opinions about anti-vaccination.
You know what I think he should do?
The flatness of the earth and all
I think
stuff.
he should interview professional skateboarders.
Hell yeah.
For the Olympics.
It's a 420, bro. Yeah. I mean, 540, bro. I mean, 420, 540.
It was 360 no scope.
Yeah.
Into a nose grind.
But I think, like, getting back to like the point that I was going to make is that, like, I already have enough things bogging me down that I don't think, like, I give massive props to Dr. Gray and Dr. Coles of being able to, like, sit through and do the research, because I think that researching those topics would, like, turn my brain into a putty that would no longer function. And I'd be like, I'm going to start drinking a lot. Like, my cup would not be full of water right now.
I do.
Jesus.
I do. Okay, so let's talk about... I have one more question for you, Kris, and then you can ask me questions, because this is going to be interesting to get interviewed on my own program. But my last question for you is about, not our final guest, but Dr. Cohort. So Dr. Rachel Cohort was on the stream, and she would only agree to be on the stream if we talked about Taylor Swift, because she knew me when I was an edgelord. And I mean, like, I still have those tendencies, right? Like, I'm a reformed edgelord. I'm really trying hard to not be awful all the time. But Dr. Cohort really wanted to talk about Taylor Swift and thought she would torture me with Taylor Swift. But the secret is that I quite like a few of Taylor Swift's songs. So now I have to ask you, are you a Swiftie?
Knowing I've for researching, making sure that I was, like, familiarized with this episode that I was going to be on. I didn't want to look like an idiot who's just, like, bumbling over stuff that I don't remember. I went back and I rewatched all of the episodes of Research Left Behind. You all should do it. Also, they're available on, you know, all of your podcast listening services and also on YouTube. I knew where this was going because there's one guest missing, and it's the guest about Taylor Swift. Am I a Swiftie? I think this is where I'm going to use my F-bomb card. That I get one F-bomb. And the answer to that is, fuck no.
Really?
I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not, no. So this isn't to say that, like, Taylor Swift
the
music
People's
isn't good.
Princess?
So that's the thing. Is, like, I'm not. This is not to say that Taylor Swift music isn't you know, good. It's probably, you know, it is probably palpable radio pop chart kind of stuff or whatever. But God, I'm gonna get, like, so many people. The Swift army is gonna, like, murder me in my sleep tonight.
Yeah, it'll be great for views.
I guess I should stream it instead. I don't engage with Taylor Swift's music just because it's not exactly the kind of music that I immediately go to. I am typically a person who listens to punk rock music and like more like my top three favorite bands are Streetlight Manifesto, Aesop Rock, and Dropkick Murphys. So I don't really like Taylor Swift isn't really in my like, and this isn't to say that I don't listen to poppy music. I love a lot of poppy music. It's just one of those things where it's not the first thing that I jump into. So like I think I've heard a Taylor Swift song. She did the one about like, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. But I think I've only heard that through memes. My problem that I have with Taylor Swift, and this is the controversial take that always pisses off Swift fans, is that I don't like capitalism and I don't like billionaires. If there was a billionaire CEO, people would be like, I don't like that billionaire CEO. That billionaire CEO is immoral for exploiting the people that got them to the point. Like I am in the camp of there is no way to make $1 billion, like to have $1 billion net worth, and or to have your empire be worth $1 billion without stepping on people to get to that $1 billion. And
impossible.
In my opinion, I think that Taylor Swift falls into a camp of billionaires who have very good PR. Like you could have a person who has $1 billion net worth and that person's a CEO and everybody would be like, I don't like that person. But Taylor Swift has a good PR and gives back. And, you know, people kind of let her slide in the like, yeah, if we're going to eat the rich, we'll spare you, you know, maybe we'll take a tow kind of thing or whatever. That's kind of my vibes on it. Also, it's just kind of like, I wouldn't, you know, there might be a time in which I listen to it. I'm more of like a Dolly Parton kind of thing where you're like, you have this empire that could be worth billions, but you just throw it all away to important causes and, you know, schools and funding stuff. And you're just like, I got to the point where I have enough money. I don't need to make another penny to live out the rest of my life as rich as possible. So at this point,
she has an amusement
I'm going to
park.
do it all. I'm going to do it all for the swag. Like I'm going to do it for like the love of the game kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So tell me about Scott.
God damn it. I hate it here. Okay. I was gonna tell you this before the stream, but I decided to save it for the stream because I'm gonna like this is lore dump for me, and it's gonna make me embarrassed, but I don't care because I'm past the point of embarrassment. That my yearbook quote
Oh no!
for my senior year of high school was, let me make sure that I get this right. I have to like go back to my mind palace from like 20 plus years ago.
Oh.
Let's see. Music is life. Live a fun one. Listen to ska. Is my like yearbook. That's my quote on my yearbook for my senior year.
Kris, that didn't rhyme.
It's not supposed to rhyme. It's not a rhyming thing. It's just like a motto to live your life by, to get tattooed on your arm or whatever.
All good mottos rhyme.
With that being said, okay, so this is a misconception about me. I do like ska. I think ska is like a very upbeat type of music. It's great. It was like one of the first types of genres of music that I like learned what it was and like pieced together that like upbeat strumming kind of thing that's, you know, sounds fun and happy, and it is like the audio equivalent of summer. I found out that there was a genre that was that, and it was ska music. Got way too into it. Like we're talking like first wave ska, two-tone ska, third wave ska, like everything. I was listening to all of it, like Don Drummond, the Specials, the Selectors, the Interrupters. Doesn't matter what generation, I was listening to it. And I enjoyed it. And then I grew into adulthood and got depressed, and it was harder to listen to it because it's like the juxtaposition of like my life being, you know, full of misery and disappointment, and then like, let's all have a party. And I'm just like, Not now, not now. You're giving me a headache. And then I ended up shifting more into like listening to more punky music or whatever. That's just like, burn the world down because it's all gone to hell.
So first of
So,
all, that was not as nearly cringy as I was waiting for a good rhyme. Like you had, I thought your yearbook quote was going to shoehorn in a word that didn't rhyme and it was just gonna, or did rhyme and it was just gonna be really cheesy. That's not cringy at all. Second of all, ska. Oh, chat is busting out ska jokes right now. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
pick it up.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ska will always have a special place in my heart because, and this is something that I haven't been super great talking about. I'm coming to terms with it through therapy after a really long time, but I was raised in a white supremacist household. So ska was kind of opening the door to, okay, what does unity mean? What is it? And then opening the door to why was the first wave, why was this so radical? Oh, because of apartheid. Okay. And segregation. Okay. And then learning about how bad that was, which is just like the tip of the iceberg, right? But it got me interested in history and it got me interested in why did my family say these things when they're not rooted in fact? And that was part of the way that I started to pull out and pull away from my family. Now I don't talk to them pretty much at all because they're white supremacists. But that was also where I met a lot of people who were very kind and very generous with their time, who sat me down and were very patient with me, because it's really hard when it's almost like coming out of a cult, right? When everything you thought was true or you had learned turns out to be total nonsense. And, it's really funny when you think about it in that context because third wave ska has freaking Aquabats running around doing stupid shit all the time. But I mean, for real though, it does make an impact on people and it can make a real positive difference. So I can never talk smack about ska. However, like you, Kris, when you get older and you get depressed, ska stops being as fun. It kind of gets irritating or grating. And for me, I have now my relationship with ska is like my relationship with furries.
Wait.
Which is deeply sexual in nature. No, I'm kidding. Furries are the coolest people at Pride. I will die on this hill. I have a deep respect for fursuits, for people who dress up like that because it's not easy to do, especially at Pride when it's like 200 degrees outside and they're walking around this giant fursuit and they're always like the nicest people in the entire world. It's not for me. I am not a furry, but I have nothing but love and respect for the furry community. I feel that way about ska. Like, I think it has a point and a purpose, and I think it really helps people out. But it's just not something that I'm interested in. But I'm always really excited when I see people skanking or listening to ska, or if I hear someone listening to ska, I get really happy and really excited. Just like I get really happy when I see furries at Pride.
Yeah, I mean that is I agree with that entirely. I think there's like they are the harbingers of happiness in a world that's like hard to be happy. Like it's like in a world where everything kind of sucks. It's like, hey, yeah, like I'm gonna try to make you feel better, through my music or whatever. But yeah, no, I think I still remember very vividly that like when I was I was a wee Kris, a much smaller Kris. My brother ended up getting the No Doubt album Tragic Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember listening to that album and being like, wow, I love this music. There's something about this music that just like makes me feel good. Like it's like I wanna dance to this music, knowing nothing about music. That was like one of the first genres that I kind of understood what it was all about. It was like I still am a firm believer that Tragic Kingdom is like one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. But it was one of those things where like I learned about it there and was like, this is a fun music and I want to listen to this really fun music. And then I learned more about it in my like late middle school, early high school. And I learned more about like two-tone ska, like the second wave of more like unity, that like black and white checker isn't just something that they sell at Hot Topic. There's like a symbology of that, of like bringing together like black and white cultures and like finding out that we have we're not so
Yeah.
different that we all kind of want to live the same happy life, and we can work together to make the world a better place. And I really respected that kind of stuff. And like, that was, for me, I grew up in my high school, um, infamously, after I had graduated, like a couple years afterwards, had like massive race wars where like people were like, these like, rednecky kids were bringing in nooses and hanging like dead chickens in the
Jesus.
bathrooms and stuff like that. And so it was, for me, it was one of those things where, I've mentioned this before already in the stream, that like there's no need for people to hate other people, and there's no need to have this kind of like animosity towards other people, especially marginalized people. Um, and ska was one of those things where like I really appreciated the like political side of it, and then like punk also. Punk was
Yeah.
like, ska and punk kind of worked really, really hand in hand, and there's a lot of really, really good ska punk bands. Rancid, Operation Ivy, Streetlight Manifesto is sort of one of those things where
Tsunami
like
Bomb.
they kind of like Tsunami Bomb, yeah, where they blend these genres of like ska with its unity, and then punk goes like, hey, yeah, that unity stuff, great idea. What would be even better is if we broke down the system that makes those inequalities exist in the first place.
Yep.
Like, they're letting you know in a happy, fun beat way, and we're gonna let you know how to make a Molotov. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Speaking of getting kicked off Twitch,
yeah, right.
now chat's now talking about how Gwen Stefani is a total disappointment, which is very valid. To go back to Tradwives, now she's sponsoring prayer apps and all sorts of stupid crap, which I suppose I've seen a few influencers talk about how she's always been dodgy, especially when it comes to race and appropriation, but the Tradwife stuff is yikes. All right, Kris, I'm going to let you ask me questions now.
Heck yeah. All right. Also, if anybody is a fan of the rest of the band of No Doubt, but not Gwen Stefani, and you want to hear that, but like Davey Havoc instead, Dream
What?
Car, 10 out of 10. Dream Car is a fantastic band.
What?
10 out of 10.
With Davey Havoc?
Sorry, yeah, Davey Havoc's the lead for the band, and then like the rest of the band is pretty much just like, I don't know, they're not a ska band, and it's not Davey Havoc doing a ska band, but like they have one album. It's a fantastic album. Definitely recommend. So,
Now you might not know
anyways,
this by looking at me, but AFI was my kind of gateway band that bridged the ska to punk to goth, and like AFI and Alkaline Trio were real big in high school for me.
You have a fire inside? Oh man.
I do have a fire inside. And people would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're listening to that emo crap." And it's like, look, I found goth out of it. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm of the camp of people that like there's no such thing as I don't know, like guilty pleasure, blank music, movies, whatever. Like if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. Like
there's no cringe.
I love cringe stuff. Like
we're millennials.
Anyways.
We like avocado toast and cringe.
I don't actually like avocado. I feel bad about that. But anyways.
Nope, you do. I think you'll find you do.
I don't. It has such a gross flavor and like it's just not great, Bob. Anyways, okay. So this is one I've actually appreciated this stream because my first question is something that you've been indulging me in, which is that I have noticed throughout the season of the various episodes that have happened that there were many times where you would engage with your chat via like texting in the chat of like saying like somebody would come in and say hello and you'd reply back hello while like the person that you're interviewing is like replying to you, or you like kind of like Tay Day style, like turn away from the microphone to laugh. Did you ever find it difficult to stream against the grain of on Twitch, which is a platform which is like built around user interaction, to not interact with your viewers because you had a fancy podcast and an interview to finish up with?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm soliciting feedback for and thinking about for season 2 of this program is how much chat interaction there should be. And I feel a little bit awful and like it's my vibe, my aura, being a teacher. I think when people come onto my Twitch stream, like I'm one of the only channels that I know of where no one uses channel points and like no one really engages in that way. And I think it's because people feel like it's like passing a note in class or something, that it's my streams are serious and formal, which I mean, compared to my classrooms, I don't think they are. But so I made a decision that for Sunday is actually incredible. Yeah, I totally agree. I made a decision that for this podcast/YouTube show that I would try and just have the content and just have the nice people are now using channel points. Yes. Yes. Did it actually work? Oh,
I don't see any glizzies.
Oh no.
Wow, this stream is
turn it
awful.
off?
I'm out. I'm disconnecting from the call.
Yeah, the people listening to the podcast are going to love this. You know what is... Oh, hold on. Let's see if it works on this scene. Maybe I can edit this out of the podcast, because this let's try.
Holding on.
Nice. There we go.
Covered. Oh, I'm being covered with a hot dog.
There we go. We go.
I don't know what a JPEG is. I just want a picture of a god dang hot dog.
Yep, there you go.
Heck yeah.
And there's like a cake candle. Well, aren't we all glad that we took a break from streaming and talking about research stuff to look at a hot dog? I know, now I kind of want a Costco hot dog as well. So I made this decision to stay focused because it's very easy with chat to get off topic and to get distracted. And I also want something that'd be easy to edit for YouTube and to that clown is horrible. Yeah, this is a party stream now. Nothing matters. Yeah. I don't know if I'll do that in future. I think part of the charm of Twitch is being able to engage with chat, right? So,
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about it, but it was really hard to not engage with chat, and it was also really hard to not say what I wanted to say a lot of the time. I mean, I did, but I can think of a few examples where I've made TikToks about it. Like the one that stands out is when Jose talked about having a paid, I can't even see this with a straight face. When Jose Segal talked about having a paid subscription to newspapers.com, like it was so hard for me to keep it together. That is some of the wildest shit I've ever heard in terms of research. Like, it's still very funny to me. And it's just like, I can't even explain why. Like, I'm not critiquing or being cruel about his research methods. It's such an innocent thing that I would have never considered. One of the practicalities of research is having a subscription to newspapers.com. But here we are. So the funniest part, chat, is chat's like, hey, you should use your library. And the funniest part is that Jose does. He's the one who would always be like, oh, don't order that book. Don't buy that book. We have it in the library. Go use the library. And so he does for like literally everything. There must have been a reason why he had this subscription to newspapers.com. And oh man, that was just so funny. What was the other one that I struggled with? I've forgotten it now. I got too distracted with... Oh, it was when Dr. Masanari talked about Elon Musk being the ideal, like, stereotypical gamer. And that, I really struggled to... I made a TikTok about that because my face is priceless. I'm trying to keep it together, especially since... Like, I've known Dr. Zagal for, our offices were next to each other for 9 years or something. So, like, that's a little... I think Jose would forgive me, right? But... I met Dr. Masanari for the first time for this show, for this program, and I was like, keep it together, don't laugh, don't get sidetracked. That is a very funny thing she just said, but you've got to stay focused. I think she would also be very forgiving, but
yeah, there were definitely a lot of moments throughout the season where like I would make a joke in chat and I would like, yeah, can we crack Ashley while he's trying to stream? Never did, but
I think I'm pretty easy to crack. One of the things, I think one of the few gifts I have in this life is that I laugh easy. And I've had people and family members even tell me that I need to take things seriously and it's really disrespectful. So that's why I'm hyper aware of like, oh, I don't mean when I'm laughing at newspapers.com or when I'm laughing about Elon Musk being a pro gamer. It's not meant to be rude or disrespectful to the people. It's just legitimately funny. It just, yeah. It's funny.
Okay, but yeah, with the first season wrapped up, you've got, I mean, you're almost done. We still have the rest of this episode to go through. I don't know. Am I technically a part of the first season?
Yeah, you are.
Or am I just like the behind the scenes bonus thing for the DVD?
Yeah. Both.
So going into creation of whatever it is, whether it's art or music or a podcast or a stream or whatever, people typically go in needing to scratch an itch for expressing themselves. Did you end up feeling like you successfully scratched that artistic itch, and did you do what you sought out for this podcast? Like, was the podcast what you dreamt it would be growing up, you know, dreaming of this time since you were a little girl, thinking you were going to be doing a podcast on Twitch? Did it actually end up becoming the podcast you hoped it would be?
I mean, that's a great example of me cracking right there, right? Because it was going to be really sincere. But yeah, that's what I always dreamed of doing, was being on Twitch. No. Yes. So one of the unanticipated side effects is that I read a lot for fun and also for work, for research, right? I love books. Books are my first love. Games are my second. And I think that's fair to say. I read a lot for my reading lists, but there's only so many hours in the day. And being a games professor, I not only need to know about all the research that's going on in game studies, so I can put it on my syllabi, so I can give my students references and resources, and so that I know that I'm staying on top of my game and that I'm not falling behind in cutting edge research and knowing how to inform my own research. But I also have to play a whole litany of games, not only for, you know, because I'm on panels, but because I need to teach with games as well. So it means that I have a lot of prep work that I do for my job. And what ends up happening is if I have a class on something like gender and games or game society and self, then I get tunnel visioned and hyper-focused into those niche areas. And I'm not reading new research coming out about things that like Dr. Malazita's book, I would never have picked it up because it's not in my, studying Unreal Engine is really cool, but it's not in my research interests. Whereas like Dr. Gray, I knew her work from citing her, and Dr. Coles I met through Dr. Gray. So those are pieces of research that I was quite familiar with before the stream. But what the stream allowed me to do was branch out and look at, okay, what's coming out of MIT Press, what's coming out of the academic publishers that I enjoy or that I'm shopping my book around at, and what are they saying? What's new? What are people talking about? And so this gave me an excuse to not only reach out to those authors and be like, hey, advanced reader copy, can I have an ARC? I tried to prioritize all the books that are open access, and that's definitely something I'm doing in season 2 as well. Whenever possible, I'm finding sources that are completely free, so that if you listen to the podcast or you watch the stream and you go, hey, that's really interesting, I think I want to go get that book. Boom, it's right there. So yeah, open access is wonderful. So I think it scratched the itch of me wanting to have an excuse to read more, not specifically in my very niche subject area. It also scratched the itch of getting me to not be a coward and to reach out to the researchers that I really admire and strike up a conversation with them. Something that I find personally is that you put this book or this article or this piece of research out there in the world and then no one talks to you about it. There's an academic tradition wherein like the hard sciences, at least in undergrad, a lot of the people that you're reading about who invented this idea or that idea are dead, right? To take a really, really elementary example, Darwin has been dead for hundreds of years now. So there's a tradition of not reaching out to authors to talk to them or be like, hey, your idea was super influential, because they're dead. But in my field, we're all still very much alive, at least for now. So I would like to get into a better habit of reaching out to people and saying, hey, your book was really cool. That was really monumental. It was really informative. It changed how I think about this or that. And so I do that, particularly when it's not in games and I'm not having the person necessarily on a podcast, like Dr. Maureen Linker, I want to say is her name. She has a book on intellectual empathy and how you can practice anti-racism through essentially teaching empathy and empathy skills in the classroom. And that was so formative to how I think about pedagogy that I reached out to her through email and I was like, I don't need anything from you. This isn't like I want to co-author with you or anything. I just want to tell you that the book is awesome and it's changed the way I teach. And she wrote back and she was like, oh, that's so nice. Like, I know whatever, we never hear people just emailing us to compliment us. It's usually a troll or nothing at all. So I think that it also scratched the itch of me wanting to reach out to people more and be more of a community. Yeah, people sometimes read academic research, right? Okay,
that's awesome. I could see that being a very good that's a good excuse to just like it's very similar. I've done stuff like that, not in a similar-ish to like reading things that normally aren't in your wheelhouse, where like I have forced myself to play games that I normally wouldn't play just because I've heard that they're very, very good. And then I found myself being like, oh, actually, I really do enjoy this. Like, this is something that I wouldn't have touched on. So yeah, it's a good excuse, a good reason, and it's entertaining. So
yeah, for season 2, I'm trying to keep up the momentum, but I'm also trying to highlight more work from emerging scholars. So I thought it was really important in the first season to focus on people who are established in their careers, who have books out with prestigious publishers. But next season, I have a couple folks lined up who are early career researchers who have either just completed their PhD or who have just recently turned their PhD into a book. And I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to platform younger, not in terms of the age of the person, but younger scholarship in terms of fresh out of the PhD program.
Sure. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. I will be back for next season. Yeah. So, not looking to make you pick your favorite child.
You definitely are.
Pick your favorite child. No. Were there any guests this season that you want to have back on for a second time, either because we're limited to a specific amount of time to talk about something, or because they have like a different book that you want to discuss? I know a lot of the guests that you've had on have multiple books.
Yeah, like every single person.
So you heard it here first. All the guests this year, we're running it back next year.
Yep, no. Just the same thing again, just with different words.
Yeah.
No. I would love to have Jose on because Jose's now one of my oldest friends / mentors, so I will always happily talk to him anytime he'll entertain my nonsense. Jim is great. Jim has so many phenomenal ideas. He just sees things and thinks about things in a very different way than I do, so I always love learning from him. Dr. Masanari hinted during that stream, if you recall, that she might be working on a book about Elon Musk. And if she does, when that comes out, absolutely, we're going to do an Oops All Elon stream.
Things that I would never research on my own topic.
Yeah, I will actually put up a second monitor and we'll just have his gameplay footage from Path of Exile playing.
God.
As we talk about what a awful human being he is.
Are we going to do the one where like people were randomly DMing him about like how
he is listening to Grimes?
Yes.
So awful.
Oh,
Yeah, I would
that's
have
good.
Dr. Gray back on because she's always a party. Dr. Coer is always publishing things in anthologies. In fact, I just submitted something for one of her anthologies, so maybe we can talk about that. There was a call for papers for like this kind of retrospective on World of Warcraft, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I would absolutely have Dr. Coer on to talk about the psychology of World of Warcraft, and then Dr. Coles is doing some really exciting new research, and I'm hoping to co-author with her. So Mia has so much overlapping research interests that it's almost too not doesn't achieve my goal of branching out. But I love having Dr. Consalvo on because this is absolutely my research area. So I have everyone back on, which is a cop-out answer. So if I have to pick just one, then I'm going to say Dr. Masanari writes that book about Elon. Absolutely. I am running to my keyboard to invite her back.
Jesus. All right. Well, I'll moderate it, I guess, if I need to.
Hair surgeon.
I-
Chat's
yeah,
asking where we're going to find out who's hair surgeon is.
And then the end of next season, the last question for me is going to be, are you an Elon Musk bro? And I'm going to be like, okay, well, but nice knowing you. See you.
Yep.
All
that
right.
will definitely get
So-
us on the wrong side of the algorithm for sure.
Yeah, right. So my last question that I have for you is one that I mentioned to you after the first episode. I asked if this was in reference to this thing, and I believe you reassured me that it was. That the floating CRT that I'm currently in is being a clear homage to the single greatest talk show of all time, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, ranked best to worst. Space Ghost, Moltar, Zorak, and Brack. Go. Discuss.
Okay, so I actually had to do research for this
What? Okay.
because I remembered I immediately everyone's picture came to mind, and obviously Space Ghost, we know who he is. He's the host.
Yeah.
But Moltar, I thought Moltar was a villain, but then Moltar's the robot kind of guy. Zorak's the bug, and then Brack is the monster beast kind of character. And
He's the successful one who had his own show. Yeah.
woo. Okay, so that makes
Brack
sense
show.
because I went back and I watched a best of reel on YouTube, and I remember loving Brack. I thought Brack was the funniest character I'd ever seen. That's the whole reason I watched Space Ghost when I was in high school. And now rewatching it, I'm like, this is awful. I cannot stand. It's almost like ska music.
Wow.
Where Brack I found really grating, but Zorak is still funny to me. So I think my order is Zorak, Space Ghost, Brack, Moltar.
And that's best to worst, or worst to best?
Best to worst. So my top
Best
pick
to worst,
is Zorak. I still like the sarcastic little bug.
I don't think that Moltar is a robot. I think he's just a dude in a hazmat suit.
Oh. He had no personality as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough. So it's funny, actually. So it's funny that when we were talking about this, I actually remembered that when I was little, I used to watch that show. I'd stay up late on Saturday nights to be able to watch Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And I remember sending a letter off to Space Ghost Coast to Coast to let them know that Brack is my favorite character, that I love Brack. He's so great. And I got a postcard back that was, thanks. It was from Brack. It has a picture of Brack on the front of it, but it was signed from Brack. And I don't have it, which is one of the biggest regrets of my life, is not still having that. But he's like, hey, Kris, I think you're awesome too, blah, 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 blah. And then Zorak wants to meet you, but it was M-EAT. So it was he wants to eat you. And then it was love Brack. And I had that little postcard probably all through like middle school, and then at some point in time it got,
Aww.
tossed in the garbage or whatever.
See,
But like,
you should always write to your favorite content creators.
yeah. And you can send all letters to Professor Ashley at
Yep, Nifty Kris will be the one opening them.
Oh God, yeah, we'll do a mailbag episode next year, or for next season.
A mailbag episode would be super fun.
Yeah, it's like all the questions that have been asked throughout the. Oh, yeah, but yeah, that is all the questions. Also, I will say, now that I have all the questions, no, I'll say this. I will not embarrass you yet. Go. The floor is yours, Professor Ashley.
To do what?
I don't know, to wrap up the show or whatever.
Oh, I was thinking about Costco hot dogs. I thought, okay, all right, yes. We can wrap up the show. We can end the show. It's time to end the show. We are at the 1.5 hour mark, actually. So it is definitely, sadly, time to say goodbye to the stream and to each other. So please join me. Yeah. Please join me in feeding Kris the glizzy. I'm not even drinking, but I do have a splinter. Sorry if I've seemed out of it this episode. I am preparing to move, so I am packing up my house and my belongings. So I am out of it. Okay, all right, back on script. Kris, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Not really. It's one of those things where, like, if I can plug anything, it's, the stuff that I was talking about earlier. Be nice to people and don't suck. Be a better person. Leave the world a better place than you do. The backpacking rule, the law, the rule of backpacking is like, leave the world a better place than it was when you got there.
Yeah.
Do that.
Or the plug. Burning Man phrase, which is don't add to the population, don't subtract from the population, don't end up in the hospital or jail. And if you end up in jail, establish dominance quickly, I think.
I thought you were going to say, don't engage with the communal fleshlight.
Oh, wow. That's a different Burning Man.
That's the same Burning Man. If it's the one in the desert, that's the same Burning Man.
Okay. Great. It's your legacy. Any social media?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Yeah, where can people send you a postcard on social media about Burning Man? Where can people find you? What does your tent look like at Burning Man?
I don't go to Burning Man. You could never find me at Burning Man. I am Scandinavian through and through, and any temperature over 70 degrees makes me want to die. But you can find me on social media. I am in this chat here typically as Nifty Kris. I'm on Twitch. You can either go to twitch.tv/niftychris, or you can go to greateststreamever.com. That's me. You can find me on Blue Sky because Twitter is a cesspool. You can find me on Blue Sky. I am KrisFerderer.com on Blue Sky. This is where I was going to embarrass you about it. It is not spelled the way that it is spelled on the Post-it note on the VOD.
Oh, no!
I'm not related to Roger Federer, the tennis player. I got an extra R in there. So KrisFerderer.com on Blue Sky is me. I post stuff about hockey. I post stuff about social democratic stuff. I post nonsense about magic, just general stuff or whatever.
In my defense, I'm illiterate.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to, like, I had people during Roger Federer's, like, his reign of terror in the tennis world. That was when I was in high school. And I had so many people, including my English teacher, I think in 11th grade, maybe 12th grade, was like, "Oh, are you related to Roger Federer?" And I was like, "What? No, I'm related to the National Hot Rod Association Hall of Famer that raced for Canon filters. Like, different sport."
Well, awesome. All right. So they can find you at Burning Man or on Blue Sky.
Yeah, dude, I'll be at Burning Man doing Quaaludes.
Thank you again to Shawn, Pierre, and Adrianna Poindexter for the creation and use of our theme song that we've used all season. Thank you, Kris, not only for being a guest on this episode, but also for an entire season worth of modding, classroom management, as I like to say. And lastly, thank you to all the viewers, the listeners, the live streamer chatters. I wouldn't be doing this without you all, because otherwise I'd be talking into a void, which, I guess we need hobbies. Sometimes. Okay. Listeners, chatters, viewers, if you like the stream, this podcast, make sure you are following with notifications on so that you know when we'll be live again and when the next recording goes up. If you're listening after the fact, you can head over to twitch.tv/professor_Ashley and follow to catch the next live stream. You can also find me on almost all social media as professor_Ashley. The Research Left Behind is taking a hiatus for the next couple of months to read books, sweep floors, and find more research left behind. I will also be moving, so I'll have a totally new setup. We'll no longer be at the bar, probably. So, if you aren't already on the Discord, you can type !Discord and get the link. And that's probably the best way to keep in touch to figure out what's going on in between seasons and when we'll be next live. But I can tell you, I don't have the exact dates lined up, but I can tell you we will be restarting in October, and I'm keeping the same time slot. With some exceptions. So very exciting. We have some Europeans that'll be joining us. So we might be doing 1 or 2 episodes on a Sunday. Kris might not be able to join us, but at my normal Sunday slot, which is like 10-ish a.m. Mountain Time. But there'll only be like 1, maybe 2 episodes there. But good night. And I will see everyone for season 2. I'm really excited. I will stream on Sunday still, but.
And I'll sweeten the pot for your Discord.
Yeah.
Everybody should join the Discord, because I will post a picture of myself after this is done filming. I will post a picture of Ska Kid Kris in Ashley's Discord.
Stop it.
Be there.
Do I have any pictures of
Ska
me?
Kid Kris will be there.
This is Scott. What? Why did my bot break? Oh, my bot's very slow tonight.
Your bot's lagging.
Yeah, how very bizarre. Well, good night. Bye.
Bye.